A pressing engagement, Lincoln lives, senior lessons, all this and more on today's News 6. Welcome to News 6. We are happy to be the first class in this new season of News 6. We hope that all of you will join us for the next 25 weeks for an educational and fun-filled look at area communities. Today's News 6 is being presented by Mr. Jim Roselle's class of Lane Middle School in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Autumn is here and soon snow will fall. But before that happens, apples fall, and sometimes they fall into the cider press of Mr. Arthur Hartman. News 6 visited the Hartman Cider Mill where Tim Doherty talked with Mr. Hartman about his craft.
Mr. Hartman, how long have you had the cider mill?
Oh, I've been running this for 28 years.
What kind of apples do you use?
I use a Grimes Golden and a Macintosh, and most of them are the drops, the windfall that drop off the trees.
How many apples does it take to make a gallon?
We get about 3 gallons or a little better out of a crate of apples like
Is
that.
there a difference between apple cider and apple juice?
Oh, yes. Cider is made right fresh from that apple as it is, where apple juice, you put heat to the apple before you extract the juice to kill the acid so it doesn't ferment at all, see. That's the difference between juice and cider.
Do you use the pulp for anything?
I leave it lay for 1 year, and then we raise some redworms in it. And then after that, it goes back on the land.
I was wondering, do you like cider yourself?
I drink some, just to see what it tastes like. But I don't make a practice of consuming too much of it.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. So if you're ever in Fort Wayne, bring along a few dollars in your own containers and stop by and pick up the world's best cider. This is Tim Doherty reporting for News 6.
An ideal way to learn some of Fort Wayne's history is to ride the river cruises with Mr. Blake Isaacs of Shove Park. From the river, we can see the burial site of Chief Little Turtle, Miami chief and friend of General Anthony Wayne. We also see the site of Old Robinson Park, the country's first amusement park. The most recent historic landmark is the high water mark of the Great Flood in 1982. A popular story is the House of Many Faces, built by Hugh McCulloch, the father of modern-day banking. It became Indiana's first medical school. In order to do experiments, grave robbers were hired to supply the school with bodies. We also learned that because of Fort Wayne's we learned that Fort Wayne became the country's first trading post because of its location on the Wabash and Erie canals. We also learned that how the Indians used cattails for food, baskets, lamps, and diapers. The river cruise is a fun and relaxing way to learn about Fort Wayne's history. Ride the river, it's a great trip.
The Lewis A. Warren Lincoln Library and Museum is the largest private collection on Abraham Lincoln. The library has a collection of 20,000 volumes. There are biographies, books about the Civil War, books in different languages, personal letters, and even some books that Lincoln owned. The library also has a collection of paintings, photographs, statues, and plaques. There are political posters, woodcuts, and ballots. The museum has 60 different displays about every phase of Lincoln's life. We can learn about his life on the farm, the Springfield law practice, and his job as a Whig politician. We can read the Emancipation Proclamation, the Gettysburg Address, and about the assassination. There are also many personal items, relics, and curios. The Lincoln Library and Museum is a very interesting and educational place to visit. There is something for everyone to enjoy.
In 1979, the first Thomas C. Hires Award was presented to Mr. Thomas C. Hires. This award is presented each year to a Fort Wayne citizen who has contributed outstanding volunteer services. News 6 visited the American Red Cross, where Tammy Stroketter talked to Mr. Hires about some of his community services.
Connected with the Fort Wayne Police Academy.
Well, that is true, Tammy. I've been associated with the Academy for approximately 10 years, teaching first aid and CPR to not only the police department, but the police reserves and the student police.
I also understand that you are an instructor for the American Red Cross.
That is correct. I've been teaching for the Red Cross for about 20 years, teaching all types of classes, senior citizens, groups of Boy Scouts, boys and girls from various clubs, and any girl or boy over 13 years of age can sign up for a CPR class if they want, or for a first aid class.
Could you show us how CPR might be used?
First, you should know that CPR is cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and CPR is the compression of the individual's heart. But that does not work unless they are breathing. So consequently, you have to give them breath and then compress the heart. And as long as you're breathing into their mouth and compressing the heart, that person is living. What you do is give 4 full breaths. That gives oxygen in the lungs. Then you feel in the neck here the carotid artery for a pulse. If you feel no pulse, then you know that they have to have CPR. So you have raised the neck, you have given them oxygen, so then you come up the rib here, and this, if you're working alone, it's 15 to 1. 1. Then 2. And then 15, and so forth.
There's been an award named for your volunteer service. Could you tell us about that?
The award that you're speaking of, I believe, was presented to me by the Fraternal Order of Police Associate Lodge, and they have named a plaque in my name, which will be awarded once a year to the outstanding volunteer in the area.
Why did you decide to give so many years of volunteer service?
The Lord has been good to me, has given me a wonderful wife, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And I'm going to try to return some of that to the young people growing up as they are now, so that Fort Wayne and the community will be a better and a safer place for them to live.
Thanks for sharing this with us, Grandpa. This is Tammy Stroketter for News 6.
September is a very special month for the women of Fort Wayne. That's when the Run Jane Run Sports Weekend is held. It's the only one of its kind in the world. The events held are tennis, softball, golf, volleyball, a 5-kilometer run, and a long-distance run. I think that Run Jane Run is the best time of the year for women of all ages. It is a good time for women to show their sports abilities.
Thanks for watching News 6. We hope you'll tune in next week for some reports about Bellevue, Ohio. Have a good week.